Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Learning with Line 6. I'm Ross Bailey, I'm one of your friendly product specialists, and we'll get all the awkward bit out of the way, just make sure the levels are cool. So this is my voice, sorry, it's the only one I've got, and this is what the guitar sounds like. Hopefully the levels all match up. I'm going to turn that up a little bit in the room, because louder is better. Sounds good. Thank you, Christopher. Right. So, me again. And I've done another one of these things where we choose subjects for these streams. And I've gone with a really difficult one. And I keep doing this, so I love a challenge. So we're going to have a go at dialing in some Stevie Ray Vaughan tones. So, this has been kind of an eye-opener for me, and so many people try and get Stevie's tone, and there's certain elements that we look at and we go, oh, that must be it and that must be it. But kind of in researching a little bit for this, going through, there's a Stevie Ray Vaughan tone, but there isn't like a distinctive kind of single thing. He's used a ton of different amps, obviously uses a few different guitars, and his tone has varied across the years. So what I've tried to do with this is really kind of keep it super simple, go with something that covers a ton of different bases and hopefully is versatile enough to get you in the ballpark. Obviously, I'm not Stevie Ray, you're not Stevie Ray, we don't have a guitar or his amp or certainly his fingers, and it's a challenge to say the least. So, but we've got something like, so I didn't go full Helix for this one. I went with HX Stomp, like I said, just to try and kind of force myself to keep it a little bit more simple. I'm going to keep an eye on some of the comments here. Constantine says, I'm a modern metal player and I didn't listen to Stevie and I like his style. Trying to search for some new stuff. Yeah, man, it's worth doing. Clemens Bogner, Bassman all cranked up plus tube screamer. No. We'll go through that. So here we go. Right. So Stevie's rig. Like I say, he's used a bunch of different amps. Whenever I see kind of someone trying to dial in a Stevie tone, it's usually they'll go for a Bassman. And I'll be honest, I've tried a bunch of times. I've never managed to get a Bassman to sound right. Cranked up, various things, it's just not right for me. And yeah, traditionally you would go, oh, Bassman with a tube screamer, with a Strat, that's the Stevie tone. He has used Bassmans. For me, his tone is much more kind of blackface Fender, and he's used Vibroluxes, deluxe reverbs. Later on, he started twinning amps, so he would use something like a Vibrolux or a Vibroverb, usually modded by Cesar Diaz, and he would twin that with maybe a Marshall, and then he moved on to the Dumble Steel String Singer. There's images of him with a Super Overdrive Special, Dumble Overdrive Special. No, you Dumbles, Ross. So, like I say, he's used a bunch of different amps. I think largely it's kind of very kind of blackface Fender sort of vibe, and then the Marshall just to kind of fill in some of those mid gaps. His pedal array, you look at any of his pedal boards, it's super simple, and he would also use a Leslie from time to time. So this is what I've done with this. And Constantine says, did he really use 13 gauge strings in standard tuning? No, he used 13 gauge strings in E flat. So I've actually tuned to E flat just to kind of keep it in that sort of vibe, I guess. E flat sounds great. But these are not 13s because I am not strong enough. These 1052s on this, and I'm using my good old faithful Yamaha Pacifica 612V. It's a beautiful, beautiful guitar. Oh, look at that. It's pretty. It's pretty. And basically all stock, but I swapped the pickups for bare knuckle True Grit. So again, the pickups are very different. I've split the bridge pickup, so we've got a single coil in the bridge. Not that I use that much. And we're going to play some really bad blues licks tonight, or in the vein of, and get somewhere close. Oh, Tony's in the house, Nick's in the house. Christopher Halisi, Litigator, yes. So what I might do if there's time, I might go through a couple of other amp choices because yeah, I put the Litigator on and absolutely it was like, oh, just the stock settings, perfect. So that is really good, but I wanted to keep it kind of regular, if that makes sense. Richard says, be great to see a video of me using Helix with the dual Yamaha amp beside you. This fine beast. Yes, the THL 100 HD. It's marvelous, marvelous amplificator. I can probably do that. Maybe do that another day. Chris Bibby in the house. Tens. Yes, Stevie would disapprove. Yes, he would. He's spinning in his grave. Apologies. So I've done a couple of little things with this. Let's dive in. I've rabbited on far too much. So this is what we've got. So for the amp, I've used the US Deluxe Norm. These are the settings that I've done. So like I said, we're trying to keep it simple. I've kept it with one amp, one cab, and we've gone with that. Actually a 412. So looking at Stevie's rig again, when he kind of went to Dumbles, Overdrive Special. Oh, brain's working well tonight. Overdrive Special and Steel String Singer, much more the Steel String Singer. You would traditionally use him, see him using 4x12s, and he would twin that with a Marshall. I did kind of do this with a dual amp rig, but yeah, it was cool, but this way enabled me to do other things. So guitars coming in, we are hitting the Arbitrator fuzz face model there. We've got the Weeper Wah, and that's set up to be switchless with an expression pedal. I'm just using a Dunlop Volume X as an expression pedal here. I've got the Mission that's set up in a different rig. That's really cool because then you can have the switch. Doing it with the Dunlop in this way, we've got a switchless wah. Now I've gone with the Legacy Screamer. I put the 808 in originally, and that was great, but just out of curiosity, I went for the Legacy Screamer, and it was like, oh yes, there we go. Because again, he's used a couple of different tube screamers. I think he's kind of best known, I guess, later on to use the TS10, which is quite specific. It's a little bit brighter than an 808. And a TS9 as well. He has used TS9s, he's used 808s, various different tube screamers. The TS9 is what I like it best for, and the Legacy Screamer does a great job of that. Pretty much stock settings, I just brought the drive down. And then the amp, like I say, the amp's pretty cranked. You'll see that turn in a minute. Cab, like I said, we've gone with the greenbacks because the Steel String Singer is kind of a Fender-y based circuit, just massive headroom, and he would use that through 412. So I've kind of mixed and matched a little bit here, used a bit of artistic license. We've got the 7 dynamic on there in that position. If you're looking at this, by the way, and going, oh, that looks different, that doesn't look like my HX Edit, bit of housekeeping. Firmware 3.5. If you don't have it, go get it. It's amazing, and this preset will require 3.5. We've got 122 rotary in there, and I've set that up on a foot switch. So if you want to use this with an HX Stomp, what I've done, I've got rid of the tap tempo tuner switch, and I've made that an extra foot switch. You can do it with a further foot switch, whatever you fancy. And then just for a bit of vibe, I've put the hot springs in there. And yeah, I think it kind of works pretty well. Constantine with the new cabs, yes, with the new cabs. So here we go. This is what it sounds like. So one thing I've noticed with Stevie, if you kind of watch enough videos and you really kind of dig in, he's ridiculously dynamic. He uses his volume control tons. He uses all the different pickup positions. Again, I see people kind of going, oh, this position is like the ultimate Stevie tone. Like I said, there's a million Stevie Ray Vaughan tones. There's so many different ones, and this hopefully will kind of capture a good amount of them. But his kind of core clean sound isn't that clean. It's kind of dirty. And to be quite honest, this is most of what you hear. So that was awful. Do that again. You know, that's pretty much there, I guess. Obviously, like I say, wrong guitar, wrong pickups, wrong strings, wrong player. I do have this cranked pretty loud in the room. That's something that you kind of need to do as well, just to get those dynamics, is really turn this up. So yeah, there's one kind of Stevie tone. The middle position is something he uses quite a lot as well, and that kind of gives that super mid-range kind of honk almost. So we've not touched any pedals yet. I just want to show some of the versatility of just this sound on its own. So a middle position gets you that. I'll roll the volume down a little bit, crank it up. It does that thing, position 2 or 4, depending on how old you are or how you prefer to name them. So that one, that position. So neck and middle together, that kind of out of phasey. Does that thing, if I can remember this. What's that chord? There you go. Kind of thing. So straight off the bat, we've got a bunch of different Stevie sounds, and you use your volume control, you use your pickup selector, you're going to get a ton of stuff out of there. I'm going to try and keep an eye on this. Sounds mint, mate, even over Facebook. Yes, Chris, that's kind of a disclaimer, I guess. It's going to be compressed and horrible over Facebook. I will put the link in the thing here. Right, there's the tone. There's a tone for everybody, and I'll put that in the description on Facebook and YouTube as well, so you can go and download this, have a play. It's just a starting point. It's not Stevie's tone, but it's kind of in tribute to. Beautiful sound. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, wow. Saw Stevie twice before he passed. Awesome. Legend. Helix sound is much louder than your voice. Okay, I can fix that. Give me 2 seconds. Let me turn my voice up a little bit. Right. Hopefully that has fixed that a little bit. Sorry. Right. So again, with that kind of position 4 vibe, you get that kind of. All those sounds just from the volume control of the pickup selector. So every once in a while he steps on a fuzz, so we'll kick in the fuzz, the arbitrator, and remember with a fuzz face the volume control does loads. So up it's just big and just kind of a mess. Just roll your volume back like a notch. not the perfect fuzz for a Fender style amp, but it does the job. And then for the solo boost, he would use the tube screamer. With the screamer. Without. There we go. So that's what the screamer sounds like. And then just quickly, we'll go to the Leslie. So what I'm doing, you'll see I've got this set up on the same foot switch. So what I do when I hit foot switch 3 is it turns the main cab off and then goes to the rotary, because the rotary is a cab, and it just sounds a little bit better to my ears. I did kind of play along with that. It's actually pretty spot on. He doesn't have it going particularly fast. The blend between the woofer and the horn, kind of personal taste, I guess, but yeah, that was kind of a tricky one to dial in. Does that kind of thing. There we go. Rob says, are we getting any of the 3.5 sounds in the Pod Go? It's a good question. I do not know, is the honest answer. So keep your eyes out. Tony says, beast. And Pod Go is the current firmware is the current firmware. There we go. Zach says, that sounds spot on. Thank you very kindly. And Tony's helping out. Thank you very much, Tony. Tony being from Texas. This is dangerous with him around because he knows what's what. And then I guess finally, we don't need to touch the reverb. If you want to do the kind of Lenny thing, give it some, crank it up a little bit, I guess. Yeah, and again, the kind of pickup position for that, it's a bit of a tricky one, because that position 4 thing. Play the chord right. I only learned that today. Or so yeah, you can crank the reverb and get some real nice kind of more ambient kind of vibes from that. That's just the Hot Springs. Use whatever you like. Now, so the Weeper, I don't have a second camera set up, and I tried kind of looking at this earlier, and this camera didn't really work on this, so I'll have to talk you through it. So basically, what we want to do, this is what it sounds like, by the way. Kind of thing. It does the wah stuff, and you'll see it kind of I've got the switch actually on the heel down. So what you want to do, I'll talk myself through this just so I remember and do it correctly. So on HX Stomp or on full Helix, basically you want to go into bypass a sign, and then go to the thing, select which expression pedal you want it on, and then if you change the position to wherever you want it to kick in, basically, and then where it says wait, if it's in that position for any amount of time, which you can adjust, then it'll either turn on or off. So I've got this set at 300 milliseconds on position 0, so when it's down at the bottom, you'll see it's just not on. And if I'm down there for a brief second, it'll stay on. If I'm down there for slightly more than a brief second, it will switch off. But essentially just switchless wah, which is really handy, and I quite like that a lot. Yeah, I never saw him use a fuzz. I thought he used 2 tube screamers. As far as I know, he used 1. Probably bent down and adjusted it, but yeah, he did use a fuzz every once in a while. And Rob says, yes, added a Dallas Arbiter fuzz face pedal to his rig when he became obsessed with emulating Jimi Hendrix's signature sounds. Maybe I should do a Jimmy session. Really set myself up for failure. We'll see. So yeah. So if you chuck an expression pedal in, this is set up so you don't need to switch it or anything. It's already on a switchless kind of deal. So fun. So yeah, we've kind of rattled through that. Like I said, it's a real nice and simple rig. Let's just change that amp out, for example. So just for fun, let's go with the Brit J45 and see what we can do. So I'm going to bring the bass back. And you can hear that's a bit warmer, quite a lot warmer, and it's got more mids. I mean, the mids are cranked. But that, if that was twinned with that deluxe, then that's going to kind of fill in those mids and really kind of give it a bit more girth. And the fuzz will work better on that as well. Which is pretty cool. And like I said, the litigator, so this is kind of going for that Dumble-esque thing. I'll just crank the volume. So other than the channel volume, I've not done anything, and that's pretty close. Maybe a little bit more high end on that. So you can kind of instantly hear when you get into that Dumble-esque territory, it's a lot more robust sounding. It's just bigger. And for want of a better term, it's not as fragile, which is what I mean by robust. It's just, it's girthier. The high end is a lot smoother. So, you know, experiment with the amps. You definitely don't want the badonk. Yeah, that's not going to work. Another good one in the Dumble-esque vibe, and I've talked about this so many times at Cali, Texas Channel 1. So what you want to do, crank the drive sort of around there. Get rid of the mids a little bit. Maybe a little presence. Treble about there. I'm guessing this. Maybe just a hair of bass. That should be somewhere. Same kind of deal. Yeah, just really nice and robust. That gives you the more of that Dumble-esque. the kind of same sort of stuff. That works great too. So there's a few different amps there that you can experiment with. The ton I've uploaded is using the Deluxe Norm. Yeah, so that'll work for you as well. Any recommendations when using a Variac, says Zach? We'll put you on screen. Yes. Essentially use the Strat model, which my brain has just gone. Spank, there you go. Use the Spank model. Again, any of those positions will work great. And that's not a million miles away from where his tone sort of would sit. So it was like a 62, 63 Strat that he would use. Let me get rid of that. And yeah, rosewood neck. So the one we modeled was a 59. So yeah, it's got a rosewood neck, so on and so forth. Again, the pickups are going to be slightly different. And yeah, sort of a few kind of key things. Like I say, if you really want to get it, I mean, you just got to watch some of Josh Smith's videos where he's talking about Stevie, and he uses 13s. It is a thing, and I've seen a ton of videos where it's like, oh, string gauge doesn't matter. Yeah, it does. I did a gig on 13s once because that's all I had, and it was last minute. And yes, it hurt. The faces Stevie Ray pulled when he played are real. It's actual full agony. If you don't believe me, try playing with 13s. They hurt, and a high action. But yeah, it does add something to the sound. Honestly, the biggest thing that I found just kind of noodling around in here, and it's not a massive room. I'm using a pair of Yamaha HS7 studio monitors. I got it just as loud as I possibly could without having my neighbors coming around and shouting at me. But it kind of has to be loud. You want to get that air moving. And yeah, if you wanted to gig this, just turn it up as loud as you possibly can, and it will help. Volume does help. That's my 2 penneth worth. So, any more questions? No. Marvelous. So that's kind of that. That's my attempt at a Stevie Ray Vaughan tone. Like I said, we kept it simple. I could have used multiple amps, but I've given you some alternatives in there. So go try them, see what works with your guitar. Turn it up, put some heavy gauge strings on, pull some faces, and play some very old-fashioned blues licks, which for some reason I struggle with today. But there we go. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for joining us once again. We're going to do these all the time, as much as we can. So any suggestions you have, put them forward, and we'll put them on the list. And next week, I believe we may have the delectable Nick Bell up doing some stuff. So same time, same place. Thanks again for tuning in. Have fun. Take care of yourselves. See you again.